Say to yourself, I am more than my physical body. Because I am more than physical matter, I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. I deeply desire to expand, to experience, to know, to understand, to control, to use such greater energies and energy systems as may be beneficial and constructive to me and to those who follow me. I deeply desire the help and cooperation, the assistance, the understanding of those individuals whose wisdom, development, and experience are equal to or greater than my own. I ask their guidance and protection from any influence or any source that might provide me with less than my stated desires.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family amongst lords of consciousness. I am the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
All broadcasting live from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void live, barely. And it is November the 14th, 2024. We are live on YouTube. I had to stop the encoder to the radio station because I made a fatal mistake. That's right. I updated Windows, which is a stupid idea. Let me just tell you guys something about this real quick. That has nothing to do with the out-of-body experience, but I haven't learned my lesson about this, so surely I'm going to stop doing it. But anytime Windows has an update, just wait until the fix comes out. Because I don't even know if this show is going to broadcast right. Like I updated the computer about an hour ago, and it's just been doing stupid stuff ever since. But yeah, I'm a little sleepy too. Everybody's getting a little drowsy. See, it's that stupid time change and the winter coming. I don't like it. We'll get through it though. We'll get through it together. So yeah, it's the last broadcast of the week, and I hope everybody's having a good time. I hope people are getting out. And we're going to probably, I'm hoping tonight, wrap this up with this Albert Taylor text. And Albert Taylor, let's see. I'm going to try to get in on the radio station one more time. If it starts making weird noises, you guys see it says trying to log in. We'll see what happens. I think this is a bad idea. Guys, if you can hear me on the radio station, you're just going to have to come to YouTube because it's doing stupid stuff. I'm stopping that. Whew. Yeah, I mean, I updated Windows and that was it. Big mistake. It's always tempting. It's like a little light that comes on down there. This update me, please. Come on. You know you should. It's probably the right thing to do. It's never the right thing to do. Ever. I'm just saying, don't do it. Okay. Let's see. Thanks for subbing a Neurocat. Appreciate you, brother. So the ultimate truth. This is Albert Taylor wrapping this up. And I've listened to, like I said the other day, I've listened to Albert Taylor's interviews on Art Bell, as many as I could find in the archives. And I'm intrigued. Definitely intrigued. The cool thing about Albert Taylor, I'll say this, is he never claimed to be some like out of body expert. You know, most of the people that are getting out of body don't claim to be experts because of how crazy it is and how much stuff they keep running into, you know. I would have a hard time trusting anybody that called themselves an out of body expert. A traveler, maybe. A proficient traveler or someone that's done it quite a bit, yeah. But an expert in the astral, I don't even know if that's possible. All right. Here we go. So he says, and he's got a lot of Bible verses in here too, so I'm wondering if there's a little bias here, but he quotes this, and this is the part of the text called the ultimate truth. And it says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou earnest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. Jeremiah 1, chapter 5. So before we delve into the mystery of the ultimate truth, perhaps we should ask first the ultimate question. For me, that is, why are we here? And I'll not pretend that I've found the answer, but I will offer a viewpoint influenced by my soul travels. First of all, we exist independently of our physical bodies, and hence the ability to travel out of the body. For me, this has been proof enough that I will survive death's embrace. Second, we must accept that a multitude of beings exist in a dimension other than the physical. And third, it's been well documented that during hypnosis and after a near-death experience, hundreds of people have reported experiencing a detailed review of their lives. How many times have we heard the expression, my life flashed before my eyes? This phrase has always been associated with life-threatening circumstances, and at this point I must query, why would a review of past discretions be of value after departing from the world of the living? If we die and go to heaven, hell, or somewhere in between, of what possible benefit is a review of what is now unchangeable? I've always wondered that too, like what's the point? Why do the review, you know? Could it be we are given this life review in order to learn by our mistakes in hopes of not repeating them? I suggest that this may be one of the first clues that we somehow return to Earth life systems. And if so, then what is to be gained by returning to experience another life? Could it be to facilitate spiritual evolution of the soul? I've personally come to believe that life without reincarnation is like a stage play with only one act. There just isn't enough time for character development. So providing we do somehow return to the physical and live again, where will all these life lessons eventually lead us? Is there some distant yet attainable goal? And based on my spiritual travels, I would say yes, beyond a shadow of a doubt. On the physical plane, you're born, you grow older, and finally experience death. It is then that some of those experiencing near-death reports being drawn into a tunnel filled with swirling, multicolored lights. And some report no lights at all, just an eerie blackness, which sounds pretty familiar to the black void I've experienced. When they arrive at the end of this tunnel, many recall being met by a deceased relative or one or more beings of light. And this generally occurs on the astral plane. And according to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the location or state of consciousness is referred to as the bardo. I've mentioned earlier that in April of 1993, I experienced an overwhelming feeling of finally coming home. Only after myriad repeat visits of this have I come to accept this state of consciousness as the bardo. And since then, I continue to have a deep longing for what I now know to be home. This longing has become a permanent part of my waking consciousness, and I'm constantly homesick. So be advised, you too may develop this agonizing longing for home. Sometimes after exiting the tunnel, a life review must be endured. I say endured because looking back at one's own life has been described as a mixture of pleasure and devastating sadness. The extent of sadness usually depends on how kind or cruel a person has to be to others. And those experiencing near death have described feeling that exact same pain, sadness, and hurt they thoughtlessly and selfishly caused another. After the life review, a soul now has the opportunity to plan the next step on its own evolutionary path. On the next part, he's going to show a chart of these arcs. And due to the technical crap that's going on, I'm afraid I cannot show you those arcs. But he says there are probably a multitude of evolutionary paths an individual soul may follow or choose, but for the sake of simplicity, he calls them 5 paths, these arcs of spiritual evolution. So I'm going to try. Let me see if I can do this. Hopefully it won't. I don't know if I can do this or not. Hopefully it won't freaking crash this thing if I try to do this. Because I got the little meter. Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to crash it. Yeah, I can't do it. Shit. Well, whatever. Let's see. I'll tell you what they are. So he has at the bottom the physical plane. Above that's the astral plane. And then the causal plane and the mental plane. And at the very top, he's got the etheric plane. So on the chart, the D arc, or the astral plane, represents a type of soul often referred to as earthbound. And this type of soul has also been affectionately nicknamed a repeater. This is because the type must reincarnate numerous times to gain a minimal amount of enlightenment. These souls often ignore essential insights given during the life review and often fail to satisfy inescapable karmic requirements. This type of soul is likely to reincarnate quickly, missing the benefits of more careful planning. This type of soul has been blamed for a vast amount of the world's heartaches and sorrows, and this type of soul is usually narcissistic and self-destructive. Don't we call those souls NPCs around here, don't we? Is that what we call them? Purple Pencils. What's up, Janes or Wolf? I didn't say hi to everybody. I'm sorry. Cosmic, Dutchy, Lurkers. Well, I mean, I think it's important, man. Like, that's probably... Do you think a narcissist knows they're a narcissist? That's the real question, right? Like, a selfish person that has no idea how much they're hurting people or just cannot feel other things besides what they feel. Do you think they know that they're hurting people? I mean, that's probably why the life review is so important. So they could feel all that stuff, you know? I mean, imagine that. I mean, we've all done, I'm sure most of us have, you know, at the very least have said something to somebody that's hurt them. Think about that for a second. Like, why can't we feel what other people feel? It's not normal. Usually what people say, like empaths can feel all that stuff, but it's like the golden rule thing. See, I'm not so sure. I've had people say, oh, what's up, Ava? You're an empath. You're an empath. Da, da, da. I don't know that it's an empath. I just think it's, maybe it depends on how you were raised. You're either spoiled or I don't know. I mean, I can't say that either. It's like the golden rule thing, right? Most of the time, if you know something would hurt you, then you just wouldn't do it to other people, right? Like that's not the case in a lot of times, and most of the time, a lot of times, you know. And some people do things by accident. I'm one of those people. I'll say stuff, man, that just seems so insensitive, and it's not me trying to be insensitive. It's just stuff that, like, I don't filter stuff, you know. So I imagine in my life review, they're probably going to sit me down and go, okay, every time this came out of your mouth, this is what happened. This is what they felt. And then you have to feel it, you know. But still, the golden rule should apply, regardless if you're able to feel other people's feelings or not. Like, I just don't understand it. If you know, unless it's in some kind of stupid accident, which happens, But if you know that it would devastate somebody to do something, why do it? If you know it would devastate you, that's the golden rule. Like, why? So then he goes on to arcs C and B, and this is the causal plane, and the archetypal plane, so to speak. And he says, these are souls are at a higher state of evolution. And this type of soul is deeply affected by the life review and usually is very remorseful when confronted with past transgressions. These souls will generally direct more energy towards preparation and planning for the next life. At these stages of evolution, the time spent in the bardo increases, allowing for higher arcs into the upper level of consciousness. These souls are just becoming aware of who and what they truly are. The type A soul at the very top is a highly developed being and has attained a very high level of self-awareness during its physical incarnation. While living on the physical plane, these souls are usually spiritual teachers, masters, or shamans, or seekers. The type A soul often has a profound impact on the human population as a whole, and these enlightened souls may very well be messengers from God. Some of them have been variously labeled as saints, masters, guides, or prophets. I hate that word prophet, though. If you dig into most of the prophets or the stories of the prophets, most of them are at one time were assholes before they became enlightened, you know. The primary focus of this type of entity is to lead lost souls back to all that is, or God. Last but not least is the oversoul entity, a being of unimaginable capabilities and possibilities, and this type of self-aware consciousness is virtually unlimited. This being is no longer tied to the seemingly endless cycle of reincarnation, and the oversoul entity has been referred to as a God in the making. An oversoul is a being that has progressed light years from the type A. The oversoul is rapidly progressing towards the ultimate truth, which is to become a co-worker and co-creator with God. I believe this is the irreversible destiny of the soul. This brings to mind the expression, quote, "We are all created in God's image." And after slipping free of my astral body and existing as a pinpoint of consciousness, being created in God's own image continues to possess possibilities far beyond these earthly vehicles and flesh bones. Oh man, that's a pretty good theory, but you can tell he's taken in his religious upbringing there. Not a bad theory, I don't think. Let's see. Very empathetic, but totally can be insensitive as well. No time for, yeah, that's how I am. Cosmic says, right, Joe, if you were hurt growing up, you tend to not want to hurt others in my experience. Well, I don't know about that. I know people, listen, all right, I'm just going to tell you. Should I say this? Yeah, I'm going to say it. All right. So sometimes people that were raised by selfish sharks, the only way for them to survive was to become a shark. Now, I think this is a whole level of this. I think, honestly, this is another level of hurt, right? Where, you know, you get, let's just say, for instance, you were surrounded, and there are thousands of people that experience this, probably millions, man, that were raised by sharks, or not raised by anybody at all, or had nobody around them that cared about them or loved them as they were growing up. Not even one person. Not one person to kiss them, hug them, tell them it's going to be okay. Or maybe they did and it was all fake. Or maybe they were raised by superficial, judgmental type people, whatever. I've seen some really nasty people, like narcissistic, I guess you could say, because everybody's talking about narcissists nowadays. Narcissistic, nasty people, disguised as some of the nicest and kindest people on the planet. But they've become a shark because that's all they're used to. And in fact, when you talk to them, like if you can really get on their level, try to get deeply on their level, they refuse to be vulnerable because of the shark bites. so to speak, And it's this is where I was talking about on that other show. Like, I think all bullies, like people that bully others in all kinds of different ways, whether it's manipulative or direct, and people that are kind of selfish. We all kind of wish they would go into their own little camp somewhere. And this is why you hear all these, oh, those are NPCs, or I don't believe in that shit, man. I think it's just people that are not at the same development as you. That's all it is. They're just not developed in the heart as you are. Okay, so he talks about, which I know is hard to believe because we feel like everybody should be that way, We feel like everybody should be like us, and they're just not. That's a whole other discussion we should have one day on the show. Like, I honestly want to know what it feels like to really feel what someone else is feeling. Not just say I'm an empath and I feel sad because I'm around sadness, but to really know what someone's feeling other than myself. Because you don't, honestly, if you think about it, you don't know what sadness feels like to you in the body. You get those feelings in your stomach that hurt, in your heart and things, and other people will get those same feelings, but you don't know to what extent it is. You just can't know. You may even feel like sad if you're an empath or whatever. You may even feel like sadness in the room or something. But you're just not. You're not in their body. You're not feeling what they feel, so you don't know. Now, Nineveh Shadrach has a book that I always thought that this is a cool part of alchemy. Like, if you can find another person, especially like a partner that you love, right? And he has this meditation where you kind of sit in front of each other and hold hands. And he claims that you can actually move your consciousness in this other person's body. I haven't found a connection with someone, I'm just being honest with you, deep enough to be able to do this yet. But I want to. I want to see if it's real. Because I've tried everything. All these people that claim they know the answers to all this stuff, that's a red flag for me, number one. When somebody claims to think they know how the astral works in total, or how love works, how they think they know anything of that nature to that extent, I always like, whoa, But because we can only get the truth through experience. And I'll try to simplify this. So let's say I call you an asshole and you call me an asshole. Now, it may hurt each other's feelings, or we may not care, but let's say for this example, it does hurt, and then we kind of don't know how much it hurt the other person. The only thing that we know is how we would feel if someone said that to us. And that's why they call it the golden rule, because we can't feel what's in other people's bodies, but we know it would hurt us. I just think for once, maybe in this life review, maybe that's what they do, right? Like, you actually get to feel what happened to other people. I mean, I can walk into a room and feel anger, sadness, bitterness. I can talk to someone and feel the vibration, like if it's sadness, if it's depression, if it's happiness, if it's fear, I can feel that stuff, but I still don't think we can feel to what extent that person's feeling, like we do in our bodies. I don't know. I think about this shit all the time, so. Let's see. My mom is a narcissist for real. She thinks she's the most spiritual person. No, she cannot see herself. Yeah, I'm sorry to laugh. I just know that it's not funny, but that's sad, because you want to connect with your mother, like on a deep level, and you just don't. Isn't it funny that a lot of narcissists are they claim to be super spiritual people? And so far, I hate to say this, but that book that we read, you remember the first book that Gareth sent me about uh, all this stuff. What was that? All this stuff was a trick or whatever. That guy in that book said that most people's mothers are most narcissists are grown women or mothers. Why the hell would he say that? Man, I don't know, dude. Like, see, laughing about it is an insensitive thing. I don't know. I've never had a mother, so I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I can only imagine my mom. I don't know if my mom was a narcissist or not. I just think she was incredibly selfish because she did whatever the hell she wanted to do, regardless of how it affected others, you know. Didn't care. She had kids, everything, didn't care. And then I think it killed her when she was 34. See, we just don't know this shit, is what I'm saying. Like, I found out stuff. I could have gotten mad and called her a narcissist, I guess. But I found out later that some things happened to my mother that really damaged her when she was a kid. Things that, like, I don't really want to share, but things that if they would have happened to me you know, I don't know how I would have dealt with life. This is kind of what sucks about it all is we have to experience all this stuff just to know. But anyways, oh, deep thought, right? I used to think I used to sit there and feel sorry for myself because I didn't have a mother, because I used to see boys that, right, like boys that experienced mother's love, and they're, you know, you're my special boy, that kind of thing. You don't get that from your dad because your dad's a hard ass. So they got to experience like true, genuine, feminine like love, the motherly love. And I always craved that growing up. I always wanted that. I never got it. It was sad because I'd be like, I'm never going to experience that. And I thought, well, I used to think, well, if you have a mother, you should be grateful. Because at least you're not like me. That's how I would think. At least you're not like me. At least you have a mother. Until you've met a narcissistic mother. Now, I dated a girl that had a narcissistic mother who was totally unaware, and people were just flat out miserable around her. And that was the day that I realized not having a mom isn't the worst thing in the world. Having a mother that you long to connect with on that level that never will connect with you on that level could be worse. It could be worse. So for anybody experiencing that, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you drew those cards. That sucks, man. Anyways, on a more positive note, Albert Taylor goes into pre-flight preparation. So let's see what he says. Now he's got a quote here that says, when we realize our thoughts create our future experiences, then looking within ourselves for happiness becomes our only recourse. That's probably his quote. That's why he has it under unknown. He said, if you've gone this far, then you must be asking yourself, how can I do that? And when I asked what percentage of people actually achieved a controlled, conscious, out-of-body experience, I like that phrase, a controlled, conscious, out-of-body experience, I was told about 20 to 35%. And I'm not trying to discourage anyone. I just want to suggest that a trial of patience may be in store for you. These techniques are not guaranteed, of course. They're just some examples of what I've tried with a certain amount of success. Try them all until you feel comfortable or achieve some results. And if you fall asleep, don't be concerned because you may be closer than you think. If you feel more comfortable surrounding yourself with white light, then do so. If you like to use crystals, then use them. The goal is to get as relaxed as possible. One other thing you must remember prior to traveling and during soul travel is that you are a being of light and nothing can harm you unless you think it can. Even then, after the experience, you will emerge unblemished. I found that my worst enemy during the out of body experience is my own uncontrolled imagination. I've learned that whatever I imagine, devils, demons, or pink elephants, will be created instantly, and I've found that it's important to keep my thoughts clear and uncluttered. In addition, it's important not to prejudge or guess what's going to happen because you might be the one creating it. Keep dreamlike manifestations from contaminating your out of body experiences, but controlled use of the imagination during a journey can be quite amazing and downright fun. And I offer the following techniques and mental exercises with the hope that they will serve you as they have served me. Let's see if we hear anything. I mean, this is an older book, but there might be something that we can learn here, you know. Who knows? All right. The paralysis state. Find a warm, comfortable, quiet place to perform any of the following exercises. And once you've started, do not move under any circumstance, not even to scratch your nose. Let's first examine in more detail the sensations before, during, and after paralysis. There's a good chance that you may already be experiencing some sort of night paralysis. But as the paralysis begins to creep over you, a feeling of falling backwards may accompany it. Yeah, I'm always sleeping on my side, so I feel like I'm falling that way. This sensation may cause you to react by catching or stopping yourself. Yet this might break the chain. Dude, I'm so sick of hearing noises outside. All right. I'm just going to move my gun to right here at the desk. One of these nights you may see me blast somebody come to that door live on the air. Hope not, but I just feel like there's a creeper around here. And no, I'm not paranoid. I've been hearing stuff for the past week outside. Then I go out there and there's nothing there. But it's a bright full moon tonight. I hear one more noise. I'm going to go out there and check, though. So as the paralysis begins to creep over you, a feeling of falling backwards may accompany it. This might break the chain of events and abort your disconnection from the physical. You may also feel as if you can't breathe properly. That happens to me constantly. I hate that feeling. That's something I haven't gotten comfortable with yet. But this will pass. And if you get through these barriers, you may become aware of a variety of sounds at a deafening volume. Sounds such as buzzing, roaring winds, electrical sizzling, crackling, and even a musical tone or instrument. Don't try to identify the sounds at all. And then you'll be at this mysterious place where dreams are born. But keep your thoughts clear, or you might be confronted by your own creation, two heads and all. Later, as you develop more control, you may want to experiment by creating a dream to experience, and this will likely take a lot of practice. And if you reach this stage, you may hear voices or see shapes and images. At first, treat them only as distractions. You may also become aware of a floating or upward movement. This sometimes occurs without asking, and if you're not rising skyward, try repeating the command to do so. Remember, there is nothing to fear but your own fearful, uncontrolled imagination. You cannot be injured or killed. All right, well, we don't know that. I'm just going to say it. Not that it matters. I mean, before I say this, remember, you could drive down the road and get killed, so I wouldn't worry about that kind of thing. You know? So, dead men tell no tales. I believe personally people have died in their sleep, but I don't know that, and we know people die in their sleep all the time, and I don't know if it's because they were getting out of body or whatever, but if they did, there's no way of knowing. So we only hear the stories of the people that say, no, nothing's wrong at all. You know, I'm just saying that's not something I would worry about. But if we're really going to be truth seekers and we're really going to be honest with ourselves, we should understand that. I don't know why most of the people that talk about, especially, you know, people from the past that talk about astral travel and the out-of-body experiences, they always say that. You're not going to die. You don't know that. You don't, like, because if the people did pass away, they're not going to come back and tell you that, oh, by the way, I passed away. It doesn't make sense. Anyways, just trying to be honest here. However, be advised you can feel pain if you believe you have been injured by something or someone. That's a lot like the Matrix, isn't it? If it's real in the mind, it's real in the body. In addition, you need not worry about returning to your body because the slightest thought of this will make it so. And you also do not have to worry about someone taking over control or getting in your body. Divine power has been given to you and you alone, so go enjoy it. Well, for someone that doesn't claim to be an expert on the out-of-body experience, he sure is talking as if he's one, right? Lie flat on your back with your arms at your sides and close your eyes. And this is called the earth position. Make sure that your head is not propped up with extra pillows. One is usually sufficient. Starting at your feet, tighten the muscles in your toes and feet and hold for 10 to 15 seconds. Then allow the tension to melt down into the mattress or floor. And repeat this for your other leg muscles, ankles, calves, thighs, etc. I actually have an audio guided thing that I do this with. This is just one method to relax, by the way. Continue this process until you reach your face. And don't forget your neck and your shoulder muscles. Tighten and relax your jaw, your cheeks, and your forehead. Now tighten your hand to a clenched fist and hold it. And slowly begin to tighten the forearm and upper arm, biceps, and triceps. When you've done this, hold your entire arm rigid for approximately 20 seconds. Release and allow all the tension to melt away. Now slowly scan your body, mentally looking for any tension that you may have missed. And if necessary, repeat the tighten and release procedure. Now lie there breathing normally and repeat in your mind, I want to float upwards, and be patient. It may take a lot of practice, and in the beginning you may just drift off to sleep. But try not to become frustrated or tense. You'll just be defeating yourself, so relax. This one's called the Taylor pre-flight. Lie flat on your back in the earth position, take in a deep breath and hold for approximately 4 seconds. Then release the breath through slightly parted lips as you sing Hugh. Try using a low vibrating tone while you exhale slowly. You may need to first practice the Hugh to find a tone level you feel comfortable with. If you're worried about disturbing your mate, you can sing Hugh very softly. Mentally begin relaxing your muscles starting at your feet and move through each set of muscles similar to the full relaxation routine, but relax them only. Do not tighten your muscles this time, but breathe normally and think about floating or rising upwards. And remember, be patient. Well, the Monroe technique uses a thing called resonant tuning. What's up, Howard? But you don't have to, you just have to press your lips like you're blowing out a candle, and then you can vibrate whatever comes out, whatever's comfortable. A lot of more Alice on the Moon. I went out of body in 1968, took a mega dose of LSD, and I've been trying to get back into my body since. Hell yeah. See, who's this? Christy Belly? I've been out of body leaving consciously on purpose many times. Very cool. Acoustic folk. They should study brainwaves of someone lucid dreaming. Yeah, I think so too. They should study all this stuff. All right. Yeah, patience is the key. You're totally right about that. I think a lot of people don't get out of body because they just give up, man. They give up because it's like, I almost gave up. And I told you guys, my first fully conscious out of body experience, when I sat up on the couch that one time, I thought, whatever. I got to the point of, when you try something so much and then it just gets to the point where you're like, whatever, where you get indifferent, which is funny enough. Usually that's when things manifest, is when you get indifferent about it. But yeah, it took a while to get there, actually. This one's called abbreviated pre-flight. Assume the earth position and close your eyes and get comfortable. And imagine a 3-foot ball. I thought he said football, but it's a 3-foot ball of warm, glowing energy suspended 2 feet above you. Breathe in deeply and rhythmically, but not forcefully. And as you inhale, mentally pull a stream of energy down from the ball. Well, that sounds familiar. That sounds a bit like ceremonial magic, doesn't it? Go down and through the bottom of your feet and up into your lungs. When you exhale, push the energy up and out the top of your head, back into the ball of energy above you. As the energy enters your feet and legs, feel the relaxing warmth that it brings. And let this warmth flow through your entire body as you become part of the energy circle. Sounds a lot like the middle pillar, doesn't it? Mentally release control of your arms and legs. They're no longer a part of you. Relax and listen for an inner signal, a buzzing, a crackling, a zipping, a roaring wind, or sparks of light. Again, be patient, because you may just fall asleep. This one's called pre-programming. This technique may seem easy, but sometimes the simplest things work the best. Go to bed as you normally do, and then repeat aloud, quote, I want to have an out-of-body experience, or spell aloud several times the phrase astral travel, like literally spell it, ASTRAL, TRAVEL. The subconscious is weird. It likes stuff like that. Pronounce every letter 2 or 3 times, then let go of your thoughts, which is easier said than done, but repeat this 3 or 4 times if you need to do so. Any of these sound familiar to you guys? Christy Belly says, mantra I did was mind awake, body asleep. That's all I did. Yeah, whatever works, man. There's no really expert stuff on this. There's so many methods until you find out what works for you. You don't have to. The biggest thing, in my opinion, is finding a way to do what Christy Belly just says. Keep your mind awake and let your body fall asleep, like Muldoon talks about. You know, that's the laws of astral travel. This idea that someone can teach you some special method to get out of body is ridiculous to me, you know. Now, there are people I think that could help you get to that state better through, like, there's 1,000, probably 1,000,000 meditative videos on YouTube that you could access to be able to do this stuff. But when you find anything that helps you get to that state, keep it, right? This one is a good one, though, the interrupted sleep technique. This exercise can be used alone or combined with any of the other techniques. As I've described earlier in this book, you just go to sleep about 9 o'clock and set the alarm for, say, 1 o'clock, and then get out of bed. It will not be effective if you wake up and go right back to sleep. So get out of bed, stay up until about 3:30, then lie flat on your back and relax. And then I usually do the hue or chant hue or use a breathing technique that is similar. I think the reason why that works so much for people is because, you know, it's hard to have an OBE when you're too relaxed or you're too tired, so you're going to fall asleep. And it's also hard to have an OBE when you're too amped up or you're full of energy. So being able to, like, wake up when you wake up and then you move around for a little while, I usually say about 30 minutes, but he's saying a couple hours. So if you move around a little while, it kind of puts you at that medium kind of balanced state of not too fatigued and relaxed, but also not too amped up. That perfect balanced state. Here's another one you can do. Focus on an object. This one is very difficult to master, but the first few times I tried it, I ended up falling asleep. But lie down and perform a breathing routine that suits you. 10 minutes is usually sufficient. Stay flat on your back and relax. And in your mind's eye, picture a simple object like a square or a triangle. And remember to keep it simple. A square or a triangle will be difficult enough to focus on without your thoughts drifting off somewhere. Why do you think the tatwas have simple shapes in them? If your thoughts do drift away from your primary focus, gently bring them back to your chosen image. You'll quickly find out that the mind loves to wonder. It gets bored pretty fast. You'll also find out that with a certain amount of practice, you should begin to hold your images longer and longer. This can be a very frustrating technique, so make sure you do not get flustered, because if you do, you'll only be defeating yourself. This came out in like the 90s too, so I can only imagine how hard this is now for people because we're so intellectually stimulated. I will say this, ask yourself this: how do you measure yourself spiritually? If you're going to ask yourself, if you're a spiritual person, how do I measure myself on a spiritual level? Like, how can I judge myself how spiritual I am? How good am I spiritually? 3 things for me. One is your ability to meditate. But 2 for me has always been your ability to focus on one thing. And then 3 is love, right? It gets harder and harder as time goes on for us to focus on one thing. So take a break from the scrolling. Get a set of Tatwa cards. I have a set of Tatwa cards you can purchase, but you can make your own Tatwa cards if you want. You can, matter of fact, if you want, you could use your phone. Nowadays, because back then when they made Tatwa cards, they didn't have digital, we couldn't just look at pictures. I think it's better if you make them yourself, but get some Tatwa cards and see how long you can just focus on one image, like say, fire, the scarlet triangle with the green background, if you want to use flashing colors, and just see how long your mind can focus on that before it starts to wander and think about a million other things. And for me, it's quite impossible sometimes because of the ADHD thing. But I'll tell you, when I finally can get in that zone, and there's nothing that it's weird. It's so hard, but it's almost like dialing in something. But once I get there, it's like balancing cards, But once I get there, it's such an amazing feeling. Almost like you could have an out-of-body experience while you're wide awake, sitting in your chair, just scrying into the things. But that's for later. I got a plan for that stuff later. Now, this one's called Find Yourself. I find this one interesting. Lie flat on your back and perform one of the pre-flight routines you feel comfortable with. And ask yourself, where is my consciousness located in this body? Now, if you're a pinpoint of consciousness, so where are you located? Are you deep within your chest? Are you in the center of your brain near what's called the pineal gland? I picture myself about 2 or 3 inches behind my eyes. So look there. And as you search for yourself, casually relinquish control of your arms and legs. This is a really cool technique, actually. As if they were no longer a part of you. Tell yourself you no longer have the desire to feel them. Repeat this step for the upper and lower torso. And this will narrow down the area you have left to look for your consciousness. At this point, you may feel a vibration or a shaking. You may feel yourself falling backward through the mattress. Don't fight it. But you may also feel as if you're having breathing problems. And if you didn't have breathing problems before you started, this may be a sign of paralysis. Now, you might be at the point of disconnecting from the physical. And the previous sensations have been some of my largest hurdles, mainly because the feelings can be unpleasant and trigger a fight or flight instinct. So don't panic. It's hard not to panic when you feel like you're falling, though, Those of you who reach this disconnection point will soon get used to it. And if nothing has happened, yet you feel disconnected, you may need to focus on floating upward. Just repeat 2 or 3 times, I want to float upwards. The spiritual path I have taken has sometimes been a bumpy one, but I now know that every emotional twist and turn has brought me to this point. I've found that emotions like stress, anger, envy, or negative thoughts hamper, if not sever, the chain of events leading to an out-of-body experience. So get rid of them. Piece of cake, right? Approach this type of experience with as much inner peace as possible. Now, this is something that can't be faked. You must be steadfast in achieving this state. Anger, hate, and envy will point you in the opposite direction of inner peace. I've found that in the majority of conscientious situations, the outcome had very little long-term negative impact on my life, but the associated tension has a profound impact on my out-of-body experiences. I've been switched to acquiescing in personal disputes rather than holding stubbornly to my own point of view, and sometimes we defend our correctness to the brink of insanity. Remember, inner peace is the goal. I love this part of Albert's book. This is my favorite thing that he says right here. Being right, making sure everybody knows you're right, is the worst place you can be in, spiritually, as far as I'm concerned. And I like his honesty because he's like, I've been switched to acquiescing in personal disputes. Remember, inner peace is the goal. And that peace should reflect in as many areas of your life as possible. I don't believe that stress, tension, or any other emotion can be extinguished by merely throwing a mental switch on or off. The effects or remnants of negative emotions may require thorough housekeeping deep within, even though there are few visible indications on the surface. This negativity may be at work on a subconscious level, preventing you from achieving total relaxation. In other words, you're not going to be going anywhere until you take care of this. And I often wonder why we must prove we are right and someone else is wrong. Why must there always be a superior and subordinate? Why must we constantly jockey for a position of authority? Why must we strive to establish a pecking order when none is needed? Why must we be up or one down? Why do we have to be one up or one down? Yeah. You'll start to notice this too now that he's talked about it in conversations. Like if you're telling a story, even if you're in like a positive mentality and you're in a positive mental attitude with someone and you start telling stories, you'll see someone like try to one up your story. Yeah, that happened to me one time, but their story is more intense and more, but it's more profound than yours. You'll start noticing this thing on like every level. How someone, even yourself, has to take the authority in the position or one up or be right all the time. It's a bitch. I think it's a form of survival. I don't think it's like a flaw, but I think it's more of like a thing that we have to become aware of. It's in the human condition, you know. Men are the worst. We're the worst because we're always mansplaining everything or trying to teach somebody a lesson, you know. Albert goes on to say, I'm not suggesting that in situations where you may have concerns for your own or someone else's safety, you should not stick to your convictions. For sure, yeah. However, when the stress of being incorrect is far less than the stress of proving correctness, why choose the latter, especially if neither outcome has a long-term effect on your life? One more reason why we shouldn't hold such inflexible views is that we don't all think the same way. It frequently appears as if we all create and operate in simultaneous yet slightly different realities. Yes, that's probably the truest thing I've ever heard. This is why everybody that's looking for formulas for stuff consistently keeps looking for formulas, or they keep buying courses on stuff, or because they haven't quite figured out that just how unique they are. Well, this person's formula works this way, or it worked for these 40 other people, so it's going to work for me that way. Maybe not. Maybe your uniqueness is your uniqueness, and you have to find your own way. It frequently appears as if we all create and operate in simultaneous yet slightly different realities. For instance, two people can be exposed to the same situation yet perceive and recall the event differently. My personal rules for life are simply stated by this basic credo, which helps me to balance my existence in the body and out. And this is Albert's credo. Judge and you will be judged. Hate and you will be hated. Lie and you will be lied to. Cheat and you shall be cheated. Curse and you will be cursed. But love and so shall you be. That's a good motto. I like it. I like mine is like the love you take is always equal to the love you make. If all people would adhere to this simple yet challenging guidance, no doubt we'd all be charting a steady course towards spiritual enlightenment. And I believe that whatever you put into your experiences is ultimately what you're going to get out of them. There appear to be two dominant emotions we take with us when we leave this world: love and fear. I was answering that before he said it. That's at the base of everything we do. The latter pushes us further away from all that is, and the former speaks for itself. God and love are synonymous. Well, what is God, though? Remember, how we relate to one another has a profound physical and spiritual impact on all of us as a whole, and I believe we ultimately have to account for this. Our everyday thoughts are all too often generated by the things that we fear. For example, fear of being alone, fear of being penniless, homeless, jobless, and loveless. Just to name a few, these fears have a profound effect on the actions and decisions each of us must choose in the course of our everyday lives, and it's because of these fears that we either spring into action when none is needed or fail to take action when we know we should. You know what oh, damn it. I got to do the, well, I'm going to try to do it. I don't know if it's going to let me though. Let's see. I don't want to lose my radio license. Damn, I can't play that one. Can't play that one. I play a lot of the same tracks because I can play anything I want to on the radio station, but YouTube, no. There's only a few songs that you can play where they don't cancel your stuff. So we've got 4 minutes here. We'll be right back.
What do you know? What do you know? And all I want is to find out what you're going through. What do I know? Maybe the silence is dangerous.
What do the stars say for me? Or will the next month or the next year be more favorable? How about, are our two signs compatible? Each month at the new moon, you can ask these questions live with me, your astrologer psychic, Mary DeCina, along with host of Lighting the Void, Joe Root. Join us at the new moon for Cosmic Conditions. We look forward to working with your energy.
Every new moon at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on Fringe FM.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques.
Oh.
Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Yeah, open the phone.
What is dedication?
I am the father of a 9-year-old little girl and a 6-year-old little boy. And I find fatherhood both relentlessly challenging and relentlessly rewarding. My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much. From the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night, and every moment in between, it really is so special, and boy, is it exhausting. One thing that I fear about being a parent is the future for my children.
What was
I
that?
think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings. But I'm also hopeful that the future holds a more inclusive and compassionate world for them.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
If you're worried your friend may be struggling, remember, you don't have to be there to be there.
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat on the game, kick off your flip-flops. You could ask on your couch while you binge watch. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and the JED Foundation.
Give me some relief, say it's just a dream, I can wait.
Gotta be a.
I saw with relief, it was just a dream, I can't face it.
Is Joe sleeping? I should be sleeping. If I was a smart man, I'd be sleeping right now. Oh, I can't play that track. That's not. That wasn't even 10 seconds, YouTube. Don't get me. Okay. So we're back. All right. So, yeah, I think it's a raccoon. I think that's what it was. I think that's a raccoon that's been bothering me, you know. What's up, Dan? What are y'all saying? Yeah, so if you hadn't got your Tatwa cards, just to email me. And yeah, sometimes it takes longer than 90 days to get them because I get them through Game Crafters. So go check out Game Crafters and how long their shit takes. And 3, when I was moving the website over, I switched services, so I lost some orders. So all you got to do is just hit me up, print your receipt, show it in the email, and I'll get you. I got actually 3 or 4 done already, including Dan's. So, but if you're waiting on Tatwa cards, just like if you want to do the Tatwa methods before you get the cards, all you got to do, all you have to do is you can use your phone. I wouldn't recommend it because you don't want to get used to scrying with your phone. That's kind of creepy. But you can use your phone. Just find the 5 Tatwa symbols, download them on your phone. They're pretty vivid on your phone, actually. And then, you know, use those. But I'm waiting until everybody gets their cards. I have the audios done, and I'm waiting until everybody gets their cards before I release those. Because that's going to be pretty trippy. Y'all are going to trip out on this, man. It's not really that trippy. It's not like once you realize what's really going on, when you use the cards, it involves the vision and it involves your vision and the tricks that your eyes play with it. But it does help you move through the doorway consciously, right? Like this is why I don't know why they didn't say that back in the old days of the Golden Dawn, where they're like, hey, by the way, those those flashes of light that you see around the shapes are your eyes playing tricks on you. But it's a really cool effect of like tricking your subconscious to move into scrying, because scrying is an old technique, man, and it's a cool technique. I personally can't use crystals. I can't use like crystal balls or stare. I can use a black mirror, though. Black mirrors work if you flank them with 2 candles. But crystal balls and stuff like that never worked for me. But the moment I started using tatwas, that shit worked. In fact, I've got a whole journal over here. One day, maybe I'll share some of it with you. Some of the like visions I've had with the tattoo stuff. It's really cool. But the first trick, you just need the flash. Just make sure when you download them, if you download them on your phone, if you got a little bitty phone, it's not going to work. But you need a big size phone or a tablet. Even your computer screen, make sure they're big enough though. And make sure they have the flashing colors, because you can get ones with white backgrounds and black backgrounds, and those work too, but not as good as the flashing color ones, right? Yeah, just email me your order, and we'll get them out to you. Dan feels that too. Dan said, sorry, bro. No, dude, I fell asleep. Yeah, bro, I fell asleep on the air the other night. I'm doing too much at once again in my life, and I got to stop. I got that one job that I work. I get up at 3:30, and then I started my painting business again. So I'm painting houses on the side, and then I'm doing all the stuff with the show too. And that day, I was like, oh man, I just couldn't hold my eyes awake. It just wasn't going to happen. And so, like right now, I'm in this mode in my life. Like, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, because I'm getting out of the shack, right? But I'm exhausted, you know. And then, so I played that show that I did, and I slipped into a dream. Now, the only cool part of this is that I slipped into a dream during a broadcast, and I have no idea what I dreamed about because I didn't journal it, right? But I remember waking up, and as soon as I woke up, my heart dropped in my stomach. I was like, oh shit, I'm still live on the air. And I came over to the desk, and there was 23 minutes like of silence, of dead air. What's up, MJ? You know? So yeah, I don't think I've ever disrespected myself on that level ever, but it's still kind of funny. You just started houses this week, Dan? I'm doing a repaint this week, man. And you know what? I made a mistake, but it's my friend too, so I don't care. But I bid the house to repaint the house. It's an interior repaint. Just side note here. And I didn't check the cabinets, so I got to do the cabinets and the trim, the walls. Don't have to do the ceilings because they're acoustic, but I forgot to check the cabinets, and you know how sometimes people do dumb shit like they paint latex over oil? Well, someone painted all the cabinets like latex over oil, so if you just rub it, it falls off, I didn't check it. So now that's in my bid. So I have to strip all of that stuff and reprime it and paint it again. Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, Dan and I have had some discussions. I got to get a bonding primer. You guys, remember this if you're painting, okay? Latex water-based paint bonds. Alkali oil paint penetrates. That's how those two paints work. That's why they feel different. You can put oil and water don't mix, okay? You can't finish something in oil and then paint over it with latex and expect it to bond. It don't work. It is a nightmare, yeah. The weird thing is, though, is you can paint latex, buff it a little bit, and paint oil over it because oil penetrates. But it just doesn't work the other way around. All right. Of course, I'm sure everybody knows everything already. That's the world we live in, so I don't even need to tell you that, but all right. So, where did we leave off? God, I got ADD. I sidetrack so much on the show, I'm sure it drives people fucking crazy. If all people would adhere to this like golden rule type thing, Just simple yet challenging guidance. No doubt we'd all be charting a steady course towards spiritual enlightenment. But I believe that whatever you put into your experiences is ultimately what you'll get out of them. There appear to be two dominant emotions. We talked about that, love and fear. So he says God and love are synonymous. Our everyday thoughts are all too often generated by the things that we fear. We went over that. So here's the thing that we do, and this drives me nuts. Matter of fact, if I get around this too much, if you know me personally, I'll just leave. But we seem constantly to be afraid of what might happen. And what might happen is always bad. We allow our behavior to be controlled by this fear instead of being led by our higher selves. And ironically, because of this fear, the vast majority of us haven't the slightest clue that there is a higher self. And thus fear becomes an impenetrable curtain between the personality self and the God within. So simply put, fear is for people who don't know God. If you arrive at this realization, you will have very little difficulty during your own soul travels. I know what you're thinking, right? Well, isn't that funny? Most of the religious people say to fear God is to be wise, right? What are you saying, Christy Bell? You're going to have to call in. Once I stayed in my room, a party was going on across the street, and enough noise to keep me awake. While I wheeled myself out in my room and turned to see my body in the bed, then saw a man's face looking at me in bed. Oh, dude, hey, he said, I forced myself back. The party was still going on. Next morning, the window screen was pushed in. Are you freaking serious? Hold on a second. Can you call in? Let me see if I can open up something without crashing this thing. Was it because I'm confused. Was it a normal dude, like a normal dude? Was it a person or was it an entity that was staring at you? I want to hear about this. If you want to call in, call in 501-777, 501-777-5631. You don't have to, but I'd love to hear about it. Okay. Sudi says penetration is the key. What a masculine thing to say, Sudi. Yeah. It is for oil paint. It penetrates. To all of you who have shared your kind words with me and your letters over the past 2 years, I say simply this. Thank you from the bottom of my heart and soul, and you're exactly who I wrote this book for. And for those you've had near-death or out-of-body experiences, please remember this. Yes, you did get a glimpse of what it is like to go home, and how fortunate we are to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is no death, only a change of worlds. And through my journeys, a part of me has discovered it will not only survive death, but will instantly finally awake from this restricted awareness of life. But I do understand that while in these corporeal vehicles of flesh and bone, the mind and body instincts are extremely strong and influential. And because of fear, we will all slip backward from time to time. For a lot of reasons. This is why we're here, because we must all strive every day to master our emotions. I pray that through our earthly experiences, we all will somehow learn to put the spiritual horse back in front of the cart. But we must try to let our spirit dictate universal laws to our mind and body, rather than trying to impose physical laws to our eternal spirit. That's a good quote. We must try to look at the hard times life deals us as a vehicle to teach us to trust in spirit, by making choices based on faith and not on our false expectations appearing real, which is fear. And that's the end of his book. One of the highest rated OBE books, apparently, I guess. And that was I think everybody should write a book like that. We only did what, three or four, maybe. I think it was like 3 episodes on this book. Easy to read, well written, done. Even learned a little bit from his experience. So Albert Taylor, thank you. I'd love to have you on the broadcast if you're still around. I don't know that you are, though. You guys, and if you guys want to check out more of what he has to say, he did a few interviews with Art Bell. You can just search Art Bell, Albert Taylor, and you'll find them. So now there's another one that's supposed to be good called Leaving the Body by Scott Rogue. Astral Doorways, we already did that one. And Explorations in Consciousness, a new approach to the out-of-body experience. There's another one that I really like. I don't know if you guys have read it yet, but it's called The Finding of the Third Eye by Vera Stanley Alder. God, that's a good one. Okay, so a black guy from the party across the street in Minneapolis. That guy came into your room? Holy shit. Yeah, that's the one I'm reading, I think. You talked to who? You talked to Albert Taylor? New England Dirt Roadie? That's cool. Yeah, can you imagine that? Like, getting out of body, like leaving your body and seeing some creep just standing there looking at you, and there's nothing you can, I mean, it's kind of good that and in one sense, it's good that you're aware of it because normally you'd be asleep and the dude would just be like standing there or whatever. What's up, Doc? If I didn't say what's up to you, but then Doc says fear, fuck everything and run. Yeah. That's cool, man, that you talked to Albert Taylor. I'd like to talk to him. So you got to see it. Did he just stand there, though? Like, he just didn't do... Thank God he didn't do anything, but that's creepy to me, too. He just stood there and looked at you, huh? What the Good grief, man. That's trippy. That is trippy. Here's the bigger question. Like, did you identify the guy? Think about how much that would trip him out. Like, if he knew you were sleeping and you saw the dude, and the next day you're like, listen, you just approach him. Not that I recommend you doing that, but if it was me, I would. But don't do this. Like, you just approach him and be like, dude, I know you came into my room. I saw you standing there, and you were wearing this and that. I bet that'd freak him out, man. What's up, Zaya? Face everything and rise. That's a good acronym. Fear is an illusion. Love is the intro music. Man, in the neophyte ritual of the Golden Dawn, and this isn't like me revealing a magical secret about ceremonial magic. You can read it. But when you're going around in the temple, they have the banners of the east and the west in the temple, and you're blindfolded. And all of these symbols speak to the subconscious. That's why we do ceremony and ritual, because it speaks to the subconscious, if you hadn't figured that out. So when you're going to church and you're seeing the ceremonies, remember, they're speaking to your subconscious. But anyways, what was I going at? Oh, yeah. So in the Golden Dawn ceremony, when you go around, they have a lesson that they teach you at each banner. So when you get around to the banner of the west, like, they'll raise your your blindfold, and a dude pops out and tries to scare you. And then it talks about fear. Fear is a fetter that binds, and fear is the forerunner of failure. And this is what they teach traditional ceremonial magicians, that fear is the forerunner of failure. Fear is failure. He saw me in the bed because I had a green light bulb on. He said, "You hoo ha ha." What? Dude. What were you thinking, though? Were you like, well, if I go back to my body and wake up, he's going to be standing right there, and then I'm going to have to deal with this bitch. You know, I found, like, one of my ex-girlfriends, you know, when I was actually painting her room and was moving her bed, and I found butcher knives under her mattress, and I'm thinking, what the hell? She had like 2 of them in the form of a cross. I'm thinking, man, this girl could just turn around and stab me in the middle of the night. Like, what's up with this? But I started to realize, like, a lot of women just don't feel safe, man. They just don't. They don't feel safe. And that's another reason why I think to what you're talking about. Like, why? Because I don't want to get into that whole thing because I'll get into a very polar, controversial subject, but I believe in self-defense. Like that dude that popped into your window just because he thinks he could, just to look at you like a creep, shouldn't be able to do those things. He should get rewarded for doing those things in the worst way possible. You shouldn't do those. I mean, it's obvious. You shouldn't break into people's houses and do stuff like that, but there's no telling what his motives were. I don't even want to think about it. I know this is a spiritual show, but in my opinion, better off not around. If you're going to hurt people and do creepy shit, you're just better off not here. Maybe that's why he didn't do anything, because he freaking saw your astral body or something. It was like, oh, what the hell's going on? Later, you know. What's this? Oh, that's from Corey. Corey, where are you, man? You've been texting me like crazy, but I don't see you on the show anymore. So which one do you guys want to get into more like OBE stuff, or do you want to talk about the finding of the third eye? God, I've been wanting to read that on the air for so long because it's such a cool book. I don't know that it's all true, but it's still a cool book. The Finding of the Third Eye by Vera Stanley Alder. I got to catch up on the podcast archives, man, but I can't. I got to go to work. As soon as this is over, I'm going to sleep, Dan. Matter of fact, I might cut out early just so I can get some sleep. Yeah, that's the one we should do. The Third Eye book, Dutchie says, do it. He saw me in the bed because I had a green light bulb. So what does the green light mean? Is that, oh, you got a green light, so that gives me a pass to push in your window. Do it. What? Let me see if I can find this thing real quick. One. No, I can't play that song. Stop it. Why does it keep doing that? It's like it wants to play Prince so bad I can't. Shit. Yeah, Christy Billy, you should call in. Give me a second. Let me try to find this thing.
I wouldn't make it a habit calling me that, son.
Why is this so slow? You gotta be kidding me. found it. I got it. All right, Miss Monique, you settle down, girl. I had to get into archive. Let's see. He saw me in the bed because of the green light. He saw my sleep body. I was about to go to my sister's apartment upstairs to prove to her. Never thought about the green light pass. Yeah, the green light's like, so there's something to that, right? Yeah. All right, here we go. I found the third eye. Yeah, I found it. I'm going to do that conscious thing he was talking about. Like tonight when I lay down, I'm going to go, where is my consciousness? And then I'm going to look for it and see if I can find it. I should be able to borrow it. Limited preview. Some pages are omitted. Bullshit. We don't omit information. It's terrible. You know, after books are out for so long, you should be able to. We got to start this from the very beginning, though. Like, this is a great text, in my opinion. So this is, just so you guys know, it's called The Finding of the Third Eye. This was published in 1962. By Vera Stanley Alder. Are human beings potential gods, as they have been told, or are they merely the least of worms? The world today is a seething mass of contradictions. Life does not become simpler with each new achievement, and the average man, kept busy with the urgent process of existing, has little time for thought. Yet there are moments when, looking out upon a world which appears drab, cruel, and confused, and very ugly in many ways, but man wonders. If there are great heights for him to attain, why does he seem to know so little about them? What has man been doing all these centuries, and why do disease, difficulties, and dangers appear to have increased the more civilization progresses? That's a good question. There comes a time in the lives of many people when they earnestly desire to find an answer to these questions, and they would know why they are here. What is this all about? And if they can learn to master circumstances instead of continually being a prey to them, they begin to make an individual effort to find out for themselves if there is really any rhyme or reason, any justice in life, anything to hope for or to work for. When a man arrives at this stage in his life, it makes a very important crisis in his development. It is the moment at which he changes from a puppet into an individual and joins the honored company of the seekers. To his surprise, he finds that the number of these seekers is increasing rapidly, and that in fact, got to zoom here. In fact, they are beginning to make their impact felt upon social consciousness, and he soon sees the significance of this. True socialism becomes possible when people recognize themselves as individual units of power, capability, and thought. Then there will inevitably follow a correspondingly important and congenial position in life for each one of them. There's an unfailing demand for either the competent worker or for those who are able to wield constructive influence, and all can fill one of these needs. There's no other way to individual happiness. I didn't know Vera Stanley Alder got political, though. True socialism. Ruh-roh. Keep talking about this, people are going to say, oh man, you're a socialist. I'm not political. If I want to watch politics, I'll turn on wrestling. I'd rather watch wrestling. WWE is, at least you know it's fake in some sense of the word. The general apathy and ignorance which has existed for so long has reduced living conditions to a chaos in which there has been undernourishment in the midst of plenty, barbaric wars and cruelties taking place under the wings of so-called religion, and a system of education which results neither in mental power, physical fitness, good looks, nor happiness. Now, however, humanity is waking up in a wonderful manner to a recognition of its own failures. Everywhere, there is a widespread effort and intensive seeking going on in manifold directions. This effort is to be found not only among the leaders and teachers of the people, but among the people themselves. The public interest in health, diet, physical culture, spiritualism, and hundreds of other cults and movements shows the beginning of a powerful wave of progress which may sweep humanity upwards to the peak of a new renaissance of a kind the world has never known before. Remember, this was written in the 60s. There are many today already caught in the throes of the birth of this coming renaissance. They are tormented by the desire to know more of the inner meaning of life and the hidden issues to which they are so swiftly moving. One after another, they take up the challenge of life's riddles and join the ever-growing band of seekers. It is significant that this seeking should press into the realms of religious, psychic, spiritualistic, and occult thought. In other words, the inner unseen world of causes. Man realizes that science, which has dealt so successfully with physical phenomena, has not yet succeeded in giving humanity any measure of happiness or safety. So he is at least determined to try to find his happiness by getting in touch with causes instead of effects. By seeking for the laws of truths, if any, which may lie behind the reactions of living things, he begins to sense the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Remember, on the top of the tree, you've got wisdom and understanding. Knowledge, or understanding, is the result of an accumulation of facts, and its tendency is through specializing to isolate subjects one from another. Wisdom is the deduction from these facts of useful laws, a process which can only take place by comparing the facts in one compartment with those in all the others, thus giving a vision of the whole. When a man becomes an individual seeker, his first effort is to discover what he can of facts connected with the fundamental truths of life, but he wants proofs. There are many people ready to admit him into the world of inner research, and he is faced with a long and complicated pilgrimage. Wonderful promises are held out to him. He is assured of becoming a superman with health, happiness, and power hitherto undreamt of and hard for him to comprehend. This is pretty dramatic, isn't it? He asks himself, if all this can be true, if so, why is humanity still wallowing in such helplessness? In bewilderment, he hesitates on the threshold of philosophy, spiritualism, Christian Science, or a dozen other cults and isms. His experienced eyes are unable to detect the true from the false, and he is at the mercy of many people who seek to enlist him for their own cults or pet cults, or who wish to make profit for themselves by trading upon his virgin curiosity and yearning. Yeah, today that's called YouTube. All right. If he has a tendency to emotionalism or a love of the sensational, he will be an easy prey. How then is he going to escape the many pitfalls and manage to keep upon the true path to an understanding and mastery of life? These chapters have been written in an effort to provide the seeker with a simple guidebook for his pilgrimage to truth, a concise and bird's-eye view of the new universe which he is about to explore. It endeavors to help him to place each new discovery into its relevant position so that he, while gathering his store of knowledge, may develop wisdom also, and learn those few essential secrets through which he may attain the poise, power, and creativeness which will ultimately develop him into a superman. The seekers who acquire and use this knowledge will be the builders of the new promised golden age. In this book, an effort will be made to sort out, summarize, and compare the ancient knowledge and with modern science. And most of the statements made are capable of worldwide and extensive corroboration by trustworthy authorities and can be verified by any reader who will care to give them time to it. He can satisfy himself by as many proofs as he has the patience and energy to seek and the intelligence to judge and sift. The quest after truth opens up an unimagined and wonderful new world to the seeker, so thrilling and so full of reward and interest that it is not within the power of human speech to portray it. Only the fringe of this absorbing search has been touched in these few pages. But even so, this book contains the recipe for turning an ordinary human being into a Superman, one who commands the means of success, happiness, or personal fulfillment always within himself and irrespective of all circumstances. Ooh. Is that a good introduction or what? Does that not make you want to read this book? Joe is not a socialist. Don't start that shit. I don't give a damn about politics. My name's Sam. I don't give a damn. Right? Like, and if you want to fight about red or blue or get polar on me, my name's Paul. That's between y'all. I don't want nothing to do with it. Let's see. So, let's see how long this thing is. Jay, so much. So this is a trippy text, right? I do want to take this journey with y'all. I got so many people hitting me up like, man, you guys, you need to do guests. You need to talk about this. You need to do this, Joe. You need to do that, Joe. Joe, you need to do this, Joe. Joe, you need to do that. Listen, I'll do that stuff in time. I have not found anybody super, like, one, okay, just so you guys know about the guest thing, we're going to have guests on. I get emails all the time about guests coming on the show. And you want to know what it is? It's always somebody's, the new spiritual healer trying to promote themselves. And I look them up and they got a million freaking Facebook ads about their new healing thing and whatever. Like, here's the thing, okay? Like, if they're super being healing whatever, like they say they are, I'm not saying they're not. Why do they want to come on this show? We don't have a massive freaking audience here. Like, why do you want to come on this show? And like, I want to talk to people that's like Mel's Hole or like Christy Belly. I want to talk to her. You know, I want to solve this case of the stupid man that came into her bedroom and stared at her, you know. I've had a lot of guests on. Some of them I've talked to more than once, you know, and it's like, I promise you guys, if I find somebody that I think is interesting enough, you know, I'll have them on, right? And if, look, here's another thing I'm going to say too. This stuff takes a little work. It takes effort. But if there's something that like you really want to experience when it comes to this kind of thing, you know, instead of complaining about it, like, do your own YouTube channel. It's free to start one. It's not free it takes work, but like, just do it. Do it. I'll give you an example. Like, and you can talk to people too. Even if you don't have an audience, they'll come on your broadcast. If you're open and vulnerable with them. I remember the first time that I had, yeah, we're going to get into this. We're going to do this because this is a short book and it's awesome. The experiences that Vera Stanley Alder talks about with the third eye and the astral realm, it's intense, actually. So I'm just teasing you with it. But I want to say this, like, the first big guest I ever had on the show was John Anthony West from Magical Egypt. And I think that was like the first big name guest that was on the show. And thanks, Jessica. I've been listening since 2019. That's awesome. And I wanted to talk to him so freaking bad. But this dude was popular. He'd been on big shows. He'd been on, I think like he went on Joe Rogan like a week after he was on my show. He was just a big dude, but in the spiritual world, right? But I didn't care, man. Like the yearning to want to talk to that guy was so deep, I couldn't stand it. And so I wrote him an email. And my email said this stately: look, I have a show. It's not that big. I'm just starting it out. It's called Lighting the Void. And I was open and vulnerable to me. I remember when I was typing the email, I remember how I felt in my stomach, how open I was and scared I was saying what I said to him. Like how his viewpoints on R.A. Schwaller, de Lubitz, and all the stuff that he showed in Magical Egypt freaking changed a big part of me. And I wanted to share it with my audience, man. I left my phone number and everything. And the thing is like, I didn't think he would call me back. I just didn't think it would happen. And I was working at that cell phone company at the time, and I was up at on the top floor, and I went on break, and I got a call from New York. And I'm like, who the hell is this? I pick up the phone, and he's like, is this Joe Roop? And I said, yeah, this is Joe Roop. And he goes, this is John Anthony West. And dude almost like started crying. You know, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I thought it was a prank at first. So my point is like, if you really want to talk to somebody or hear what somebody has to say, if you're open and vulnerable with them, I hate to use the word vulnerable because that freaks people out, but if you're open with them, honest with them, like why you want to talk to them. Look, who was just in the chat a while ago talked to, who did they talk to? Albert Taylor. I haven't talked to Albert Taylor, but New England Dirt Roadie has said he wanted to. But anyways, my point is, if they're really into what they're about, they'll probably talk to you. At the very least, probably talk to you. If they're just in it for the money, then they're going to look at you and go, this is a waste of time, whatever. And do you really want to talk to that person anyways? So my point is, when it comes to guests being on the show, like, I don't want this broadcast, as small as it is and as much as I love each and every one of you, like, I want this thing to be special. I don't want it to be even though that I know that's a part of this whole thing, I don't want it to be a promotional platform so people can sell their shit. Now, authors are different. Like, if people are writing books about stuff that's massively interesting, then yeah, I want to talk to them. Mary Ducina and Jeff Harmon are different because these are people who are like one of a kind. Mary, in my opinion, is a true psychic. Mary convinced me that there is something to it because I was a massive skeptic before Mary. Jeff, with astrology, convinced me there is something to it because I was a massive skeptic before, you know. I do this because I love it. Okay. If I start doing this stuff just to grow an audience or just to make money, which those things, I hope they happen, I do. But if that becomes the sole source of this broadcast, I promise you, eventually I will burn out and I will not want to do it. I will get away from it. So stop bugging me about guests and just trust me a little bit. I have your best interests, both of our best interests in mind when it comes to this broadcast. Just trust me. A little bit. So when we get into this text, and I might do another broadcast this weekend to kind of make up for stuff, but I have to catch up on some stuff, so I don't want to make any promises. But when we get into this text, Vera Stanley Alder is going to talk about some cool stuff. Some stuff that's questionable if you haven't read this book. But it's a very different point of view on a lot of things, you know. They get into the secret knowledge, how we are made, how we are classified, the male and females, birth, sleep, and death, secrets of breathing, the secrets of color. The secrets of color is my favorite part of this book. The secrets of sound, the science of numbers, and the third eye. Part 2 is when it gets deep into the third eye and the steps to mastery and meditation. And it talks a lot about the astral realm, the zodiac, the 7 bodies of man, the serpent. It's a pretty cool spiritual text. Huh? Let's get out of here. Weekend's coming up. Before you go to bed, enjoy that full moon. It's massively big here. I don't know what it looks like where you're at, but it's huge here. It's bright outside. Just go check it out for a little while. Give it a gaze. Give it some love. I love each and every one of you. Support the show if you can. If you have supported the show, thank you very, very much. And if you can't support, share it with other people. Mary and Jeff are great guests. Yeah, Mary and Jeff are like legit. They are legit. And yeah, hope you guys have a good weekend. I'll at the very least try to get the tarot video up. If all of you guys that are interested in the tarot series, come study that with me. It's on the videos in the Magic and Mystery section playlist there, where we get really deep into the symbols and what they actually mean on the tarot. And it's awesome. I love doing that too. All right. Night, y'all. Sweet dreams. Remember, if you've ordered something and you haven't received it, we're on that new system. It probably got screwed during the transition. Send me an email with your order. And don't try to double up on me because I know which ones went out to. Not you, Dan. Yours is on the way. All right. Night, y'all. Sweet dreams. Stupid.
Unresolved and undefined in this echo chamber. Once you've given up the ghost, just like Lazarus, you know there's an operator, some strange passenger inside. To that strange power I'm resigned like an iron anchor. I'm just a ghost in your stereo, the fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost song I wrote, and I'm just a ghost in your stereo.